Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 12-week year. I have now been using it I've been using it since mid-January, so I'm a little bit over my first 12 weeks, which means my first year is up. So I thought it would be fun to do my first review of the 12-week year and whether or not I would recommend it, what are some tips I have with it, and whether I'm going to keep going with it or not. So let's get started. So first of all, what is the 12-week year? So the concept of the 12-week year actually comes from the book called The 12-Week Year, which I do recommend that you read first. I listened to the audiobook, but honestly, at the same time, like if you read enough about it, like the summary of it, or just watch enough videos of people implementing the 12-week year, that's basically what the book is about. So I I already knew what the 12-week year was before I read the book, and I didn't really feel like there was much like the book just goes into further detail, but I feel like the concept was already pretty clear from all the YouTube videos I've seen about it. So you don't necessarily honestly need to read the book, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. And feel free to comment below if you think that the book is a must. But I am going to really quickly just read like the Google search of what it is, just because I feel like when you're asked to define something on the spot, it's a lot harder to define. So, 12-week year is a time management and goal setting system that focuses on achieving goals and objectives in 12-week cycles rather than the traditional 12-month calendar year. And so the idea is that because you're shortening it into a shorter time frame, that there will be more urgency to it, and hopefully you'd have less procrastinating with it. Because instead of the idea of, oh, I'm going to do this in the next year, like build whatever habit or skill, you now have 12 weeks, so you have to implement it a lot faster. So I think it's a really cool concept. It is definitely just getting you to focus more on short-term goals as opposed to long-term. So what I did actually was I created a little template on Notion to track my personal 12-week goals. Um, and there were quite a few that I made at first in terms of priorities. And then later on, I ended up narrowing it down because I felt like it was a little bit too many personally. I do love the idea of setting really big goals and trying to achieve them. However, I do think it's important to make sure that you're also not overwhelming yourself. Because if you do set goals that are a little too ridiculous and bite off more than you can chew, I feel like you're going to end up giving up, which is not the goal of the 12-week year. So, my personal goals were the following. My first priority was in film producing because that is what I want to do. Is ultimately I want to be a producer, and so I picked a couple different strategies for it. The main one was the idea of working for 20 minutes a day to improve my knowledge of producing, and so the goal was to do 20 minutes a day of reading on film producing because I have different textbooks that I'm going through. So that was skill one, was to dedicate 20 minutes a day for that. My second priority is I really want to write a book. So I made a goal of 20 minutes a day of writing and working on my book. As you can see, there is a theme of 20 minutes a day, mainly because I do work full time. And so it's really hard for me to dedicate full hour blocks for anything. It's just not realistic because some days are really busy and some days are less busy. So it's just a lot easier for me to fit in little 20-minute breaks here and there throughout the day or at the end of the day. But realistically, if there's a week where I'm super busy or a day where I'm super busy, to end the day at like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. and then have multiple goals and set an hour for each of them is just not going to work. And I didn't want to do something like that because I knew that if I overwhelmed myself like that, I'd be more likely to not only to quit, but I feel like I would also just feel really bad about myself. And the goal of my 12-week year personally, like, was to feel better, to feel more productive, sure, but just to feel better overall and to feel more fulfilled in my day to day. And so the best way to do that is by setting up little goals that are achievable but still make a big dent in the long run, as opposed to crazy goals that then when I don't meet, I feel sad. So that for me personally, 20-minute chunks for these different goals daily made the most sense. Um, Obviously, it depends on you and whether or not you're full time, if you're a student or if you work part time or whatever. Like you know yourself best as to how much you can commit to something. Alternatively, maybe instead of a bunch of small goals for short time blocks, you'd prefer to do one goal and then you can dedicate that hour every day. Just play around with what works best for you. But I will say that I recommend starting with small time chunks daily. And then if you can increase it, if you find that it's really easy and really fulfillable, then increase it. I think that's a much better direction to go as opposed to starting off really big and then lessening it, because then I feel like you might get discouraged. So those are my two main goals. And then the third goal was health. So that one was to work out every day. And so that one's a little bit longer than 20 minutes usually. But yeah, so those were my main priorities. And then I just kind of set a daily tracker to fulfill those priorities. So for example, I also really quick, I only do my goals on the weekdays. I don't work on the weekends. I make it a point to just give the weekends to myself to rest and enjoy my time. I'm not working on skills and habits. If I want to pick up an audiobook, for example, or go to the gym or anything like that, I can do those things. I just don't require that of myself. That's just more as in like if I feel like it, then I'll add it in. But that's not part of my routine because I just want to enjoy the weekends and also avoid burning out. I feel like having the weekends helps me make this sustainable in the long term. And so far it's been working because it is now May. And again, I started this mid-January and I've just seen such a big change in my life overall with this. Like seriously, it's been crazy how much more I've been getting done every day. And not even just how much more productive I've been, but just again, like I said, I've just been feeling more fulfilled by having these goals. I just feel like there would be some times last year, well, because I work remotely, and so there would be some days last year where when I wasn't busy with work, I would just kind of be bored, and not in a way like it is healthy to be bored and it is healthy to not be stimulated by electronics or social media and take the breaks and just, do some self-reflecting. That's great and that's important to do, and that's honestly an art like the art of boredom has kind of disappeared nowadays. So maybe I should have embraced it, but I just found that it wasn't benefiting me. I was kind of easily spiraling every time I would be um, having like stretches of a day where I wasn't too busy. I would easily spiral with what am I doing with my life? Am I fulfilled? Da, 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 and just trying to understand what to fill my time with. And sure, sometimes I could read a book or watch TV and feel great, but that got old really quickly on the weekdays, if that makes sense. Like my brain wasn't um, stimulated by that concept anymore. And so the idea of these little goals are working for me personally because they give me something to focus all my energy and attention on. And usually TV or books don't do the trick for that for me anymore. I don't know why, because they used to. Sometimes they still do, but this has been working for me. And so my daily tracker for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have different little goals that I try to hit. I don't necessarily tick every single box every single day. And if I don't beat myself up about it because that's not the point of this. This is more of a checklist of when I have time. If I can do it all, great. If there are days where I'm really busy with work and I can just hit the ones I can hit, that's also great. Like I am not going to necessarily have full filled out weeks. That's perfect weeks are amazing, but I don't even know if I've had a perfect week yet, honestly, because there's always something missing. So these are my personal ones. that I'll go through in case you want to try any of them. But daily tracker points: working out, reading 20 minutes a day on film producing. It actually is now 25 minutes. I've upped that one to 25 from 20 because I found that it just worked more with the length of chapters of books usually. I don't necessarily finish a chapter in 25 minutes, by the way, because some of those chapters are pretty dense, but I just felt like 25, like I could add an extra 5 minutes and really invest more time into that because that's my number one goal out of all my priorities. Writing for 20 minutes, dancing. Now that one is meant as like a de-stressor to just throw in at some point in the day. It could be dancing to one song, it could be dancing to 5 songs. It's just an idea of trying to increase my daily activity towards my health goal and also just to de-stress. I have walking outside for 20 minutes. I love this one. I think like if you pick up any of the ones I'm listing, walking outside 20 minutes, honestly, sometimes more than working out, has had such a big improvement on my mental health. I like to do it in the morning, not right when I wake up, usually late, a little bit later in the morning. Just walking for 20 minutes around the neighborhood and listening to an audiobook or to music has just been so nice to just go outside because again, I work remotely. So there are days I don't leave the house otherwise. So it's just like a nice little way to like start off my day and kind of wake my brain up. And like I don't even put on sunscreen right away. I put on sunscreen later in the day, honestly, because I just want to like properly absorb um as much nature as I can get access to in the city. So I love that one. The next one is 20 minutes of nonfiction a day. So usually I stack both those habits together and I'll walk outside with an audiobook. If I can read a book on top of that that's nonfiction, that's always great. But I found that audiobooks really work for me. And then the next goal is to evaluate my goals every day. It can just be something as simple as looking at my daily tracker, seeing how often I'm doing everything, and whether or not those goals work for me or not. And then also I have stretching. I've been stretching for about 15 minutes a day every morning, and that has been really cool because I'm not a flexible person, and that's something that I want to work towards in terms of my health priority. But yeah, the evaluating goals daily task is really cool as well because my original daily tracker did not look like this. Like I had different goals on here, and then I was just finding that there were some goals that I was regularly skipping or some goals that I just wasn't enjoying, and so then I switched them out or increase their length or decrease their like stuff like that and tinkered with it to make it work for me as a daily routine. So I feel like it's a really good idea to just get used to the idea of every single day doing like a 2-minute quick check of, am I aligned with where I want to go? Is the system working for me? And the reason I like that so much is because I'm someone that like get used to get really anxious about that concept. And so it was my kind of Achilles heel, the idea of like thinking about long-term goals or just like where I want to be and how to achieve it. So now it's almost helped me to just regularly think of it every day. And now it's not a big deal to me. Like I do it in like a minute, look at like, and it's a very small little item, but even the simple task of that used to overwhelm me. So yeah, it's been working great. So yeah, so those are my main daily tasks that work towards my bigger goals. And I gotta say, I've definitely seen a difference. I am getting more flexible. I feel a lot more active. I'm a lot less lethargic in terms of the day. I'm a lot less likely to just sit at my desk. I move around a lot more than I usually do. And the dancing has helped with my mood as well. So overall, the health, I think my mental health has really improved through my physical activity, which has been awesome. And then when it comes to my film producing one, just spending time to read and focus on honing that skill has made me feel a lot more confident at work as well, which has been really cool. The hardest one is probably writing. I don't necessarily hit the full 20 minutes. Mainly because, quite frankly, the material I'm writing is very close to home. It's based on my personal life, so it's a hard topic for me to write about. So I can't always hit the full 20 minutes. Some days I don't write at all. I give myself the most leniency with this goal specifically. But I'm still making progress towards it, which is pretty exciting. I'm about 35,000 words in, which is awesome. I think I had like 5,000 words before I started the 12-week year, I want to say. So that's not all just from this, but a good chunk of it is from this. And then the audiobooks have also made a huge difference. Comment below if you do want to hear about the audiobooks I've been listening to and whether or not I recommend them. I was not an audiobook person for the longest time, and I used to just kind of avoid nonfiction because it just didn't feel like something that made me happy. But now I really like it. And that's also a new change of 2024. And that's also a new change because of the 12-week year. So if you want to hear more about that, let me know. I would love to talk more about the different videos I've been finding and how I've been listening to them for free legally, which is pretty cool. So whether or not I would keep doing the 12-week year, absolutely I would. I would 100% keep doing this. I think this has made such a big difference. This year is one, like this 1 year, this 3-month block alone, I've hit so many more of my goals than I did last year in all of 2023. So I feel like already my productivity has increased. I really like my boundary of not doing it every single day and giving myself weekends, because that has definitely helped with me wanting to keep going and avoiding burnout with this. I also really like that I'm lenient enough on myself to let myself skip days for certain habits based on whether it's work or energy or mental health. I allow myself those free passes and I don't make it a big deal. And I think that is what has allowed me to keep going and make this sustainable in the long term. Because again, I'm not someone who easily builds habits normally. And this has worked really well for me. So while I do understand the concept of 12-week year being to give you more urgency and more focus, at the same time, I think that you want to be a little realistic as to like how wide you how like you don't want to stretch yourself too thin with that concept either, because then it's not fulfilling its goal personally to me, I think, because I think mental health is at the end of the day the most important thing. So I think you want to set your 12-week year goals, but take it with a grain of salt, if that makes sense. For me personally, that's worked. But yeah, so I am definitely going to keep going with it. I do think that at the end of this week, I'm going to implement a proper sit down review and look through my overall priorities and make sure they're all still there. But so far, I've been loving it. And I think it's just really been helping me try to work towards the concept of being 1% better every day. And that can be something as simple as that day I watch a YouTube video about film producing or budgeting, or that day or tomorrow I do one extra push-up in my workout. Like whatever it is, that 1% can be really, really small or really big, but it's still that 1% extra effort towards something that one day, whatever it may be. But I do highly recommend this. I think making some sort of template on Notion might be the best way to go. So if you do want to see my template, I can just totally go over that with you as well. I'm pretty sure I got it off of like an internet search for the free, like there are free templates online everywhere. So I can also try to find that and link that below. But yeah, I think if you are looking to shake things up in your daily routine, especially during the work week, definitely try the 12-week year. I highly recommend it. And I really, really think that it can make a huge positive difference if you let it. Thank you so much for watching. That is it for this video. If you do want to hear more about the 12-week year or any of the daily habits that I've been incorporating into my work week, please comment below. I would love to talk more about like my daily routine or my morning routine or anything like that, because I've just made so many changes this year that have changed my life in terms of my mental health and my productivity, that it's just, I would love to share and help someone else out there achieve the same things that I did, because I wish I did this last year, because I worked fully remote last year as well. And I wish I knew about all this stuff sooner. So thank you so much, and tune in on Thursday for the next video. Bye.